The silence in the Kennedy Center Concert Hall was absolute. 2,000 people sat frozen, barely breathing, as the final note from the cello hung in the air like a prayer. Tears streamed down faces in the front row. A United States senator stood with his hand over his heart. The executive director of the venue wept openly into her hands. And at the center of it all sat Isaiah Washington, still wearing his security guard uniform, his weathered hands resting on a borrowed cello, his eyes closed as the last vibration of sound faded into history. But just 30 minutes earlier, these same people had laughed at him, mocked him, called his offer to help embarrassing and desperate. They had looked at his uniform, his calloused hands, his graying hair, and decided they knew exactly who he was and what he was capable of. They were about to discover how wrong they were. This is the story of how one man's forgotten dream became an unforgettable night that would change everything. The Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., stands as one of America's most prestigious performing arts venues. On this particular November evening, the concert hall was preparing for what should have been the social event of the season, the annual Harmony Foundation Gala, a black tie charity event that had raised over $5 million for music education programs serving underprivileged youth across the nation. The guest list read like a who's who of Washington's elite. Senator James Bradford and his wife Eleanor had flown in from their home state. Charles Reynolds, CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and the foundation's largest donor sat in the front row. Veronica Whitmore, a prominent philanthropist whose family name adorned concert halls across 3 states, held court in her box seat, her designer gown shimmering under the crystal chandeliers. The evening's centerpiece was meant to be a solo performance by Nathaniel Brooks, an internationally acclaimed cellist whose recordings had won 3 Grammy Awards. His appearance alone had sold out the event within hours. The foundation's future funding depended on the success of this night. But at 6:45 p.m., just 75 minutes before the performance was scheduled to begin, everything fell apart. Catherine Fairbanks, the Kennedy Center's executive director, stood in her office staring at her phone, her face drained of color. Her assistant, a young woman named Jennifer, hovered anxiously in the doorway. "He's not coming," Catherine whispered, her voice barely audible. "Nathaniel Brooks is not coming." The text message on her screen was brief and devastating: severe food poisoning. In ER. Impossible to perform. Deepest apologies. NB. Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. "What do we do? The guests are already arriving. Senator Bradford is downstairs right now, Mrs. Whitmore donated $500,000 specifically because Nathaniel was performing." Catherine sank into her chair, her mind racing through impossible options. Cancel the event? Refund 2,000 tickets? Face the wrath of donors who had traveled from across the country? Watch the foundation's funding evaporate? See her own career implode? "Get me every classical cellist in the DC area," she said urgently. "Now! I don't care if they're teaching a lesson or eating dinner or sleeping. Find me someone who can play at this level." For the next 30 minutes, Jennifer made call after desperate call. Every response was the same. Too short notice. Already committed. Not skilled enough for that repertoire. Simply impossible. At 7:30 p.m., with just 90 minutes until showtime, Catherine stood in the hallway outside the concert hall, watching well-dressed guests stream through the doors, champagne glasses in hand, completely unaware of the catastrophe unfolding behind the scenes. She was going to have to cancel. There was no other choice. And that's when Isaiah Washington appeared. Isaiah had worked security at the Kennedy Center for 12 years. He preferred the night shift, the quiet hours when the tourists were gone. and the concert halls stood empty and peaceful. At 47 years old, he moved with the careful deliberation of a man who had learned that life could change in an instant, that everything you worked for could vanish in a single moment. He had learned that lesson 25 years ago. In 1998, Isaiah Washington had been one of the most promising young cellists in America. At 18, he had received a full scholarship to the Juilliard School in New York City, one of only 3 students accepted into the prestigious cello program that year. He had grown up in Southeast DC, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to pay for his lessons, who drove him 40 minutes each way to rehearsals, who believed with absolute certainty that her son was destined for greatness. His father, Marcus Washington, had been a jazz musician who played bass in small clubs around the city. He died when Isaiah was 5, but he had left his son with one gift: a deep cellular understanding of music that went beyond technique or training. Isaiah didn't just play the cello, he spoke through it. At Juilliard, his professors called him a prodigy. His sophomore year recital had brought the audience to tears. The head of the music department had told him he would be performing with major orchestras within 5 years. Then, on a rainy November night during his second year, Isaiah's life shattered. The call came at 2 in the morning. His mother had been driving home from her night shift at the hospital when a drunk driver ran a red light. The crash was catastrophic. Isaiah's father figure, his mother's boyfriend, Robert, who had helped raise him, was killed instantly. His mother survived, but with a spinal cord injury that left her paralyzed from the waist down. Isaiah took the first train home from New York. He meant to stay for a week, maybe 2, just until things stabilized. He never went back. His mother needed constant care. The medical bills were crushing. The small life insurance policy barely covered the funeral. There was no family wealth, no safety net, no trust fund to fall back on. There was only Isaiah, 20 years old, and the choice between his dream and his family. It wasn't really a choice at all. He withdrew from Juilliard. He got a job as a security guard, then a second job driving for a rideshare service. He moved back into his childhood home to care for his mother. He sold his concert-quality cello to pay for a wheelchair ramp. The only thing he kept was his father's old cello, a battered instrument that had seen better days but still played. He kept it in the basement, and some nights when his mother was asleep and the house was quiet, he would take it out and play. Not the challenging repertoire from Juilliard, just simple melodies, songs his father used to play, music that felt like prayer. Years passed. His mother eventually regained some independence, though she would never fully recover. Isaiah met Angela, a nurse, who worked at the same hospital where his mother had worked. They married, had a daughter they named Amara. For a while, life felt almost normal, but Angela couldn't understand why Isaiah never wanted to talk about music, why he grew quiet when Amara showed interest in instruments, why he refused to even attend concerts. The gap between them widened. When Amara was 8, Angela left. The divorce was quiet, sad, inevitable. Isaiah raised Amara on his own. He worked security at various venues around DC, eventually landing the position at the Kennedy Center. He was good at his job, reliable, invisible. He knew the building's every corner, every service elevator, every hidden stairwell, and he knew the concert hall intimately. He had stood in the back during hundreds of performances, listening in the darkness as cellists from around the world played on that stage. He heard every note recognized, every technique, felt every emotion. Sometimes it hurt more than he could bear. But he couldn't stay away. Now, at 47, his daughter Amara had just graduated from Howard University, with a degree in education. She was the light of his life, brilliant and kind and determined. She had her mother's smile and her father's sensitivity to beauty. She taught music at an elementary school in Anacostia, working with kids who reminded Isaiah of himself at that age, hungry and talented and full of impossible dreams. Last week, Amara had asked him a question that had haunted him ever since. "Dad," she had said over dinner, "do you ever regret giving up music?" He had given her the answer he always gave, the safe answer. "I got you, didn't I?" That's worth everything. But alone that night, lying in his small apartment, he had allowed himself to admit the truth. Yes, every single day. He regretted it with a depth that sometimes felt like drowning. Tonight, walking his security rounds through the Kennedy Center, Isaiah had paused outside the concert hall. Through the door he could hear the rehearsal. Not Nathaniel Brooks. The orchestra running through the accompaniment they would provide for the solo performance later. Dvořák's Cello Concerto in B minor. Isaiah knew every note. He had performed it at his sophomore recital at Juilliard, the performance that had made his professors certain he would be a star. He could still feel the weight of the cello against his body, the bow in his hand, the way the music had poured out of him like light. He stood there for a long moment, his hand resting on the door, lost in memory. That's when he heard the frantic voices echoing from Catherine Fairbank's office down the hall. Isaiah moved quietly down the hallway, years of security training making his footsteps nearly silent. The door to Catherine's office stood half open, and he could see her pacing inside, her phone pressed to her ear, her face tight with stress. "I understand that, but I'm desperate," she was saying. "Is there anyone at all?" She ended the call and looked at Jennifer, who sat surrounded by printed contact lists, her own phone in hand. Nothing, Jennifer said. "I've called everyone. There's no one available who can perform at this level on 90 minutes' notice." Catherine pressed her hands to her temples. "We're going to have to cancel. We'll have to refund the tickets. The foundation will lose everything. My career is over." Isaiah hesitated. He knew he should walk away. This wasn't his problem. He was just security and visible irrelevant to the world these people inhabited. But Amara's question echoed in his mind. "Do you ever regret it?" He knocked softly on the doorframe. Catherine looked up, her expression moving from stress to irritation in an instant. "Not now, Isaiah. We're in the middle of a crisis." "I know, ma'am. I overheard. I'm sorry about your situation." "Thank you," she said dismissively, turning back to Jennifer. Isaiah took a breath. "Ma'am, I might be able to help." Catherine turned back to him, her eyebrows raised. "Help? How? The cellist who canceled. I know the piece he was supposed to perform, the Dvořák Concerto. I could play it." For a moment, there was absolute silence in the office. Then Catherine let out a short, sharp laugh that held no humor. "You're joking." "No, ma'am. I'm serious. I studied at Juilliard. I performed that exact piece at—" "You're a security guard," Catherine interrupted, her voice rising. "You're suggesting that I put you on stage in front of 2,000 people, including a United States senator and our most important donors, to perform one of the most challenging pieces in the classical repertoire. I know it sounds insane. Jennifer, did you hear this? Our security guard thinks he can replace Nathaniel Brooks." Jennifer looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting between Catherine and Isaiah. Other staff members had gathered in the hallway, drawn by the raised voices. Travis Chen, a young assistant director, stood in the doorway. Behind him, Isaiah could see several musicians from the orchestra still holding their instruments. Catherine stepped closer to Isaiah, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. Do you understand what's at stake here? This isn't some amateur night at a coffee shop. This is the Kennedy Center. Nathaniel Brooks has 3 Grammys. He's performed for presidents. And you think you wearing a security uniform can just walk out there? And I know the piece, Isaiah said quietly. I know every note. Everyone knows every note, Catherine snapped. Knowing and performing at an elite level are completely different things. This is embarrassing. For both of us. Travis stepped forward. Catherine, maybe we should stay out of this, Travis. From the hallway, a woman's voice rang out, dripping with disdain. What on earth is going on here? Veronica Whitmore swept into the office, her silk gown rustling diamonds glinting at her throat. She had clearly come looking for Catherine to discuss some detail of the evening. Her eyes landed on Isaiah, taking in his uniform, his work boots, the radio clipped to his belt. Who is this? She demanded. Just security, Catherine said quickly. There's been a small complication with tonight's performance. Complication? Mrs. Whitmore's voice sharpened. What kind of complication? Catherine hesitated, then sighed. There was no hiding it now. Nathaniel Brooks is ill. He won't be able to perform. The color drained from Mrs. Whitmore's face. You're canceling. I donated $500,000 for this event, specifically because… We're not canceling, Catherine said hastily. We're working on a solution. We'll find a replacement. Who? Mrs. Whitmore demanded. Who could possibly replace Nathaniel Brooks on 1 hour's notice? Before Catherine could answer, Mrs. Whitmore's eyes fell on the cello case leaning against the wall in Isaiah's hand. He had retrieved it from his locker when he decided to offer his help, wanting to show that he was serious. Her laugh was cruel and cutting. Oh my God, you're not seriously considering this. The security guard, Mrs. Whitmore, I assure you. How desperate are we? Mrs. Whitmore looked around the room in disbelief. This is the Kennedy Center, not some community center talent show. I've given millions to this institution. My family has supported the arts in this city for 3 generations. And you're telling me that our solution is a man in a security uniform? Isaiah felt the familiar weight of being dismissed, of being looked through rather than at. It was a feeling he had carried for 25 years, the invisible man in the uniform, the might have been, who became a never was. Travis tried again. Perhaps we should at least hear him play. If he studied at Juilliard, did you graduate? Mrs. Whitmore asked Isaiah sharply. No, ma'am. I had to withdraw for family reasons. So you didn't even finish? She turned to Catherine. This is insulting. To me, to the other donors, to everyone who came here tonight expecting world-class artistry. I will not sit through some amateur's attempt to play a piece that requires decades of professional experience. Senator Bradford had appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. His aide whispered something in his ear. The senator's expression hardened. Catherine, I think we need to discuss this privately, he said. This situation is becoming unseemly. Catherine's face flushed red. She turned to Isaiah, her voice cold. Thank you for the offer, but it's not appropriate. Please return to your regular duties. Isaiah stood there for a moment, holding his father's old cello case. He looked at their faces, saw the judgment, the dismissal, the absolute certainty that they knew his measure. He thought of Amara, of her question of all the years he had told himself that he made the right choice, that sacrifice was noble, that some dreams were meant to die. Yes, ma'am, he said quietly. I understand. He turned and walked out of the office, the sound of their relieved laughter following him down the hallway. Isaiah made his way to the security office in the basement of the Kennedy Center, his father's cello case heavy in his hand. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The concrete walls felt like they were closing in. He set the case down carefully and sat on the bench, his head in his hands. 25 years. 25 years since he had held his dream in his hands. 25 years of telling himself it was okay that he had done the right thing, that providing for his family was more important than some selfish, artistic ambition. But God, it hurt. It hurt to know the music lived inside him still perfect and waiting unused and unheard. It hurt to be invisible, to be dismissed, to have his offer of help laughed at like it was a joke. His phone buzzed. A text from Amara. "Hey Dad, how's work? Quiet night." Isaiah stared at the message. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. What would he tell her? That he had tried to step back into his old life for just one night and been mocked for it? That her father was just a security guard, nothing more, nothing special? Instead of texting back, he called her. "Dad. What's wrong? You never call during your shift. Nothing's wrong, baby girl. I wanted to hear your voice." There was a pause. Amara knew him too well. "Dad." "What happened?" he told her. All of it. The canceled performance, his offer to help, the laughter, the dismissal, Mrs. Whitmore's cruel words. "And I just walked away," he finished. "I should have known better. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not a musician. I'm security. I wear a uniform and I watch other people perform." "Stop," Amara said firmly. "Stop right now. You listen to me, Dad. You gave up everything for Grandma. You gave up everything to raise me. You sacrificed your dreams so that other people could have what they needed. And you know what? That makes you a hero. But it doesn't mean your dream is dead." "Amara." "No, let me finish. My whole life I've watched you stand at the back of concert halls. I've seen how you close your eyes when the music plays. I've seen you in the basement with Grandpa's cello playing when you think no one's listening. And Dad, you're brilliant. You're the most talented musician I've ever heard, and I've heard a lot." Isaiah felt tears burning in his eyes. "It's been 25 years. I'm not who I was." "You're better," Amara insisted. "You've lived. You've suffered. You've loved. You've sacrificed. You have something to say now that you didn't have at 20. Those people up there in their expensive clothes, they don't know you. They don't see you. But I do. Mom did. Grandma did. And you know what? Professor Mitchell saw it too." Isaiah went still. "Don't. Professor Mitchell gave you his phone number, Dad. He made you promise to call him if you ever came back to music. That was 25 years ago and he's still alive. He's retired now, living in Virginia. He calls me sometimes, you know. Asks about you. Tells me that you were the most gifted student he ever taught. That was a lifetime ago. It was yesterday. Talent doesn't die, Dad. It doesn't expire. It just waits. And right now upstairs there's a concert hall full of people who need music. There's a foundation that helps kids just like you were. And there's your father's cello right there in your hands, waiting for you to remember who you really are." Isaiah looked down at the battered case. His father had bought this cello in 1972, had played it in smoky jazz clubs, had held Isaiah on his lap, and let him feel the vibrations of the strings. After his father died, his mother had kept it, couldn't bear to sell it. She had given it to Isaiah when he went to Juilliard. "I'm scared," he whispered. "I know," Amara said gently. "But Dad, you've been scared for 25 years. You've been scared of what you lost. Maybe it's time to be scared of what you might find instead." There was a knock on the door. Isaiah looked up to see Frank Moretti, the night janitor, standing in the doorway. Frank was 72, had worked at the Kennedy Center for 30 years, and had become something of a friend to Isaiah during the long, quiet night shifts. "I need to call you back," Isaiah told Amara. "Dad, play, please, for you, for me, for every kid who thinks their dream is impossible. Play." He ended the call. Frank stepped into the room, leaning on his mop. "I heard what happened upstairs," Frank said. "Word travels fast in this building." "Yeah. You really studied at Juilliard?" Isaiah nodded. And you can play that piece they need. I used to be able to. Frank was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My son was a pianist. Talented. Really talented. Played at Carnegie Hall when he was 16. Everyone said he'd be famous. I didn't know you had a son. He died 20 years ago. Car accident. He was 24. Frank's voice was steady, but his eyes held old grief. "And you know what I regret most? I told him to be practical. Get a business degree. Keep music as a hobby. I was afraid he wouldn't make it, that he'd struggle, that he'd be disappointed. So I convinced him to give it up." Frank: "I'm sorry. He did what I asked. Got the business degree. Took a job at a consulting firm. Hated every day of it. And then he was gone, and all that talent, all that music that he could have given to the world, it died with him." Frank looked directly at Isaiah. "Don't let that happen to you. Don't let fear kill what's still alive inside you." Isaiah opened the cello case. His father's instrument lay inside, worn but cared for. He had kept it in perfect condition all these years, restringing it regularly, adjusting it, playing it in secret. "What if I'm not good enough anymore?" he asked quietly. "What if you are?" Frank countered. "What if you walk away from this and spend the rest of your life wondering? I've watched you, Isaiah. All these years I've seen you pause outside those concert halls. I've seen your face. You're not alive when you're wearing that uniform. You're waiting. You've been waiting for 25 years. Maybe this is what you've been waiting for." Isaiah lifted the cello from its case. The wood was warm in his hands. He sat down and positioned it, muscle memory guiding his movements. He raised the bow, and then he played. Just a few measures. The opening of the Dvorak concerto. The notes filled the small room, rich and full and heartbreakingly beautiful. Frank's eyes widened. "Sweet Jesus," he breathed. Isaiah stopped, his heart pounding. His fingers remembered. His body remembered. The music was still there, waiting for him all this time. "How long until the performance?" he asked. Frank checked his watch. 45 minutes. They're about to announce the cancellation. Isaiah stood still, holding the cello. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From possibility. "I need you to do something for me," he said to Frank. "Anything. Find Travis Chen, the assistant director. Tell him I'm ready. Tell him to give me 5 minutes with the orchestra. Just 5 minutes. If I can't prove myself in 5 minutes, I'll walk away and never mention this again." Frank grinned. "Now you're talking. Let's go show those people upstairs what they're missing." Catherine Fairbanks stood at the podium on the Kennedy Center stage, the microphone in her trembling hand, the audience of 2,000 expectant faces looking up at her. Behind her, the orchestra sat, ready, instruments in hand. They knew what was coming. They had been told to prepare for the announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen," Catherine began, her voice echoing through the concert hall. "I'm afraid I have some unfortunate news regarding tonight's performance." The murmur from the crowd was immediate. Catherine saw Mrs. Whitmore lean forward in her box seat, her expression sharp with suspicion. "Due to an unexpected medical emergency, Nathaniel Brooks is unable to perform this evening. We sincerely apologize for Catherine." "Wait." She turned to see Travis Chen rushing onto the stage from the wings, his face flushed. Behind him, moving more slowly, came Frank Moretti and Isaiah Washington, still in his security uniform, carrying his father's cello. "Travis, what are you doing?" Catherine hissed, stepping away from the microphone. "Just give him 5 minutes," Travis said urgently, quietly enough that the audience couldn't hear. 5 minutes with the orchestra, that's all he's asking. "Are you insane?" I told him. "You told him no because you were afraid. Because Mrs. Whitmore laughed at him. Because it seemed impossible." "But Catherine, I've been walking around this building for 4 years, and I've heard things. Isaiah plays, late at night in the practice rooms when he thinks no one's listening. And Catherine, he's extraordinary. You want me to risk everything on a security guard based on your hunch. I want you to give him the same chance you'd give anyone else if they walked through that door with a Juilliard background and offered to save your event. Travis met her eyes. What do we have to lose? You're about to cancel anyway. Let him try. If he's terrible, we cancel as planned. If he's good, we save the night. Catherine looked past Travis to where Isaiah stood, his worn cello in his hands. His expression calm, but his eyes holding something fierce and determined. 5 minutes, she said, finally. But when this goes badly, it's on you. She returned to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a brief technical delay. Please excuse us for just a moment. The audience shifted restlessly. Catherine walked off the stage, and Travis led Isaiah to the center, where a chair had been set up for the soloist. The orchestra members watched with undisguised curiosity and skepticism. The concertmaster, a woman named Dr. Patricia Chen, who had performed with the National Symphony Orchestra for 20 years, leaned over to the principal cellist. "Who is this?" she whispered. "Security guard," came the response. "Apparently he thinks he can play the Dvořák." Dr. Chen's eyebrows rose. The Dvořák cello concerto was not music for amateurs. It required not just technical skill, but deep musicality, the ability to sustain long melodic lines, to navigate rapid passages, to communicate profound emotion. Nathaniel Brooks had been preparing for this performance for months. Isaiah sat down, adjusted the cello, and looked up at Dr. Chen. "I know this is unusual," he said quietly. "Thank you for giving me a chance." "We're starting with the first movement," Dr. Chen said, her voice professional, but cool. "If you need the music." "I don't," Isaiah said. Dr. Chen raised her baton. Behind the curtain, Catherine stood with Travis, her heart pounding. In the wings, Frank Moretti watched his hands clasped in prayer. The orchestra began the orchestral introduction. The familiar opening chords of the Dvořák concerto filled the hall, powerful and dramatic, and then it was time for the cello to enter. Isaiah raised his bow. For just a moment, he closed his eyes and thought of his father playing jazz in smoky clubs, of his mother driving him to lessons, of Professor Mitchell's voice saying, "You have a gift, Isaiah. Don't waste it." He thought of Amara believing in him, cheering him on. He thought of 25 years of sacrifice and silence. And then he played. The first note was perfect, pure, rich, full of a depth and resonance that made Dr. Chen's eyes widen in shock. Isaiah's fingers moved across the fingerboard with absolute precision. The bow moved in his hand like it was part of his body. And the music was extraordinary. The orchestra members began exchanging glances. The principal cellist leaned forward, his mouth slightly open. Dr. Chen's baton movements became more animated, responding to the beauty of what she was hearing. This wasn't good. This was exceptional. Behind the curtain, Catherine gasped. "Oh my God." Travis was grinning. "I told you." They played through the first major solo passage. Isaiah navigated the technical challenges with ease, but it was more than technique. There was something in his playing that transcended mechanics. There was story. There was pain and love and hope and loss. There was 25 years of unsung songs pouring out through his fingers. When they reached the end of the passage, Dr. Chen lowered her baton. The orchestra fell silent. She stared at Isaiah for a long moment. Then she walked over to him, her expensive heels clicking on the stage floor. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. "Isaiah Washington, ma'am." "I work security." "No," Dr. Chen said firmly. "Who are you really?" "I studied at Juilliard." A long time ago, I had to leave. Dr. Chen turned to look at Catherine, who had emerged from behind the curtain. Catherine, if you don't let this man perform tonight, you're making the biggest mistake of your career. Catherine looked at Isaiah, really looked at him for the first time. Not at his uniform, or his age, or his position. At him. Can you do the full piece? She asked. Yes, ma'am. In front of 2,000 people. Yes, ma'am. Catherine took a deep breath. This was insane, unprecedented, potentially disastrous. If he faltered, if he cracked under pressure, her career was finished. But if she canceled now, her career was finished anyway. All right, she said. You'll perform. But Isaiah? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for offering. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for how I treated you, how we all treated you. Isaiah nodded. I understand, ma'am. You didn't know. I should have listened, Catherine said. I should have seen you. The orchestra members were standing now, gathering their music, preparing for the performance. Several of them approached Isaiah, introducing themselves, welcoming him. We'll follow your lead, Dr. Chen told him. Play from your heart. We'll be right there with you. Travis appeared with a bottle of water. You need anything else? We can get you a different chair. Or, I'm good, Isaiah said. I'm ready. Frank Moretti caught his eye from the wings and gave him a thumbs up. Catherine returned to the stage, to the microphone. The audience had grown restless during the delay conversations buzzing through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine said, her voice stronger now. Thank you for your patience. I'm pleased to announce that tonight's performance will proceed as scheduled. While Nathaniel Brooks is unable to join us, we are extraordinarily fortunate to have a remarkable artist who will be performing in his place. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Whitmore sat forward in her box, her expression suspicious. Tonight's soloist studied at the Juilliard School and brings to this performance not just exceptional technical skill, but a depth of life experience and emotional truth that I believe will make this evening truly unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Isaiah Washington. The curtain rose, and Isaiah Washington walked onto the Kennedy Center stage in his security guard uniform, carrying his father's 40-year-old cello. The reaction was instantaneous. Gasps, whispers, scattered uncomfortable laughter. In her box seat, Mrs. Whitmore stood up as if to leave. Senator Bradford leaned over to his aide, his expression incredulous. Charles Reynolds, the CEO, shook his head in disbelief. Isaiah heard it all. He felt the judgment, the mockery, the assumption that this was some kind of joke or desperate publicity stunt. He sat down in the soloist's chair. He positioned his father's cello. He looked out at the sea of faces, at the crystal chandeliers, at the red velvet seats, at all the wealth and privilege and assumption staring back at him. And then he looked at the orchestra, at Dr. Chen, who nodded encouragement, at the musicians who had heard him play, who knew what was coming. Isaiah took a breath. He raised his bow, and he began to play. The opening notes of Dvořák's cello concerto in B minor came from Isaiah's cello, like a voice speaking directly to the soul. Rich, deep, absolutely perfect. The uncomfortable laughter died in an instant. Mrs. Whitmore, halfway out of her seat, froze. Senator Bradford's incredulous expression shifted to shock. And throughout the Kennedy Center Concert Hall, 2,000 people collectively held their breath. The piece opened with an orchestral introduction, dramatic and sweeping, building anticipation. Isaiah sat perfectly still, his eyes closed, already living inside the music even before his next entry. When the cello entered again, Isaiah poured everything into those first phrases. This wasn't just technically proficient playing. This was storytelling. Each note carried weight, meaning emotion. You could hear his youth in the brightness of the high registers. You could hear his loss in the darkness of the low notes. You could hear 25 years of silence ending, 25 years of suppressed artistry, finally given voice. In the front row, Charles Reynolds slowly put down his phone. The woman next to him who had been texting let her hands fall to her lap. Behind them, a music critic from the Washington Post, who had come expecting to write a routine review of Nathaniel Brooks, leaned forward with sudden, intense focus. The first movement of the Dvořák concerto is long, complex, demanding. It requires the soloist to navigate rapid passages, to sustain long, melodic lines, to trade phrases with the orchestra in intimate conversation. It's music that reveals every flaw, every hesitation, every moment of uncertainty. Isaiah played it flawlessly. His fingers flew across the fingerboard in the technical passages, moving with the speed and precision of someone who had practiced these runs 10,000 times. But in the slower singing lines, he played with a depth of feeling that made the music feel like prayer, like confession, like love letter and eulogy all at once. Dr. Chen, conducting, found tears streaming down her face. She had performed this concerto countless times, had heard it played by some of the world's greatest cellists, but she had never heard it played like this. There was something in Isaiah's interpretation that transcended technique. It was as if he wasn't playing the notes that Dvořák had written. He was playing his own life story, and Dvořák's music just happened to be the language he was speaking. In her box seat, Mrs. Whitmore sank slowly back down. Her hand rose to cover her mouth. The diamonds at her throat glittered as her shoulders began to shake. She was crying. Senator Bradford reached for his wife's hand. His aide, who had been preparing to send an angry email about the evening's unprofessional chaos, closed his laptop. The first movement built to its climactic conclusion, the cello and orchestra intertwining in passionate conversation, building higher and higher until the final powerful chords rang through the hall. Then silence, just for a moment, the silence between movements sacred and necessary. People throughout the audience were weeping openly now. A young woman in the balcony gripped the railing, her face stunned. An elderly man in the orchestra section removed his glasses to wipe his eyes. The second movement began. If the first movement was drama and passion, the second was pure emotion. The famous melody singing and sorrowful flowed from Isaiah's cello, like honey, like sorrow, like the most beautiful sadness you've ever felt. Isaiah played with his eyes closed. He wasn't in the Kennedy Center anymore. He was everywhere he had ever been. He was in his childhood home, listening to his father play jazz. He was in his mother's hospital room, making the decision to leave Juilliard. He was in the basement with Amara on his lap, teaching her to hear beauty in the world. He was in all the concert halls, where he had stood at the back, invisible and yearning. He played his father's death, his mother's accident, his shattered dreams, his daughter's birth. Every joy and every sorrow of 25 years poured through his fingers into the cello, into the air, into the hearts of everyone listening. Catherine Fairbanks stood in the wings with her hands clasped to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Travis stood next to her, his eyes shining. Frank Moretti, the janitor, wept openly. In the audience, something extraordinary was happening. The barriers of class and wealth and status were dissolving. the CEO sitting next to a college student, the senator next to a teacher, the philanthropist next to a retired firefighter. All of them equal now, all of them human, all of them touched by the same beauty misses. Whitmore's security detail standing at the back of the hall found themselves unable to move, transfixed. The coat check attendants had abandoned their posts to listen through the doors. Upstairs, the restaurant staff had turned off the music to hear what was happening in the concert hall. Throughout the Kennedy Center, throughout the building, everyone had stopped to listen to the security guard play. The second movement came to its quiet, heartbreaking conclusion. One final sustained note, fading to nothing. Silence again. Then the third movement exploded into life. This final movement was triumph. After the sorrow of the second movement, the third was release, joy, celebration. The technical demands were even greater here. Rapid passages and soaring melodies, moments of playfulness and moments of transcendence. Isaiah played with abandon now. He had nothing left to lose and everything to say. His body rocked with the music. Sweat gleamed on his forehead. His security uniform stretched across his shoulders as he threw himself into the performance. The orchestra responded, playing with an intensity and precision that Dr. Chen had rarely experienced. They were inspired, lifted by Isaiah's performance, determined to match his passion and commitment. The music built and built, higher and higher, faster and faster. The cello sang. It shouted. It celebrated. It proclaimed that art cannot be killed, that beauty cannot be denied, that talent will find its way into the light, no matter how many years of darkness try to suppress it. In the audience, people were standing now, unable to remain seated. The standing ovation was starting before the piece had even ended, a spontaneous explosion of recognition and awe. Isaiah played the final passage, the cello climbing higher and higher, the bow flying, the notes cascading like water, like light, like joy itself. And then the final chord. Strong, triumphant, defiant. The sound hung in the air for one perfect moment. Then silence. Complete. Absolute. For 10 seconds, no one moved. No one breathed. Isaiah sat with the bow still raised, his chest heaving, his eyes closed, his body shaking with exhaustion and emotion and release. And then the Kennedy Center concert hall erupted. 2,000 people leaped to their feet. The sound of their applause was like thunder, like waves crashing, like the world itself shouting in joy. They clapped until their hands hurt. They cheered until their throats were raw. They wept and laughed and held each other and clapped some more. The orchestra members were standing, applauding, some of them beating their bows against their music stands in the classical gesture of ultimate respect. Dr. Chen was crying and clapping and nodding at Isaiah with something like wonder in her eyes. In her box seat, Miss Whitmore stood and applauded, tears streaming unchecked down her face. Her careful makeup ruined her hands red from clapping. Senator Bradford whistled. His wife was sobbing. Charles Reynolds was on his feet, applauding with an expression of absolute astonishment. The Washington Post music critic was typing frantically on his phone, trying to capture what he had just witnessed. The college students in the cheap seats were cheering like they were at a rock concert. The elderly couple in the front row held hands and cried. Catherine Fairbanks ran onto the stage and embraced Isaiah, no longer caring about professional decorum. Travis pumped his fist in the air. Frank Moretti was laughing and crying simultaneously, his mop abandoned in the wings. The applause went on and on. 5 minutes. 7 minutes. 10 minutes. Isaiah finally lowered his bow. He stood still, holding his father's cello. He looked out at the audience, at all the people on their feet, at faces transformed by joy and tears and recognition. He saw them seeing him. Finally, really seeing him. He bowed. The applause somehow grew louder. Dr. Chen gestured for the orchestra to stand, and they did, all of them applauding Isaiah. She walked over to him and shook his hand, then pulled him into an embrace. "That was the most beautiful performance of my life," she said in his ear. "Thank you. Thank you for reminding me why I became a musician." Isaiah couldn't speak. He could only nod. The audience wouldn't stop applauding. Finally, Dr. Chen picked up her microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I have been performing music for 45 years. I have played in the world's greatest concert halls with the world's finest musicians. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that what we just witnessed was extraordinary. Isaiah Washington has given us a gift tonight. He has reminded us that genius can be found anywhere. That talent doesn't care about job titles or uniforms or assumptions. That music belongs to everyone, and it can transform us all." The applause surged again. "Isaiah, would you please say something?" Dr. Chen asked, offering him the microphone. Isaiah took it with trembling hands. He looked out at the audience, trying to find words for what he was feeling. He started, then stopped. Took a breath. Tried again. 25 years ago, I left the Juilliard School to take care of my mother. I thought I was leaving music behind. I thought that chapter of my life was over. For 25 years, I've worked in this building, standing at the back of this hall, listening to extraordinary musicians perform. And I told myself I was content, that I had made my peace with it." His voice cracked slightly. He steadied himself. "But tonight, you gave me something I didn't know I still needed. You gave me a chance. And in doing so, you reminded me that our dreams don't die. They just wait. Sometimes for a very long time. But they wait." He looked directly at Mrs. Whitmore in her box seat. "Someone asked me earlier if I understood what was at stake tonight, if I understood what the Kennedy Center represents. And I do. It represents excellence. It represents art. It represents the idea that beauty matters, that music matters, that the human spirit needs transcendence and grace." He paused, emotion overwhelming him for a moment. But it also represents something else. It represents the possibility that anyone from anywhere with any background can create something beautiful. That security guard, or senator janitor, or CEO, we all have the capacity for art inside us. We all deserve to be heard. The audience was silent now, hanging on his words. "My father was a jazz musician. He died when I was 5. He left me this cello." Isaiah held up the instrument. "It's not valuable. It's not a Stradivarius. It's just a working man's cello that he bought, used in 1972. But tonight, it sang. Not because of what it is, but because of what it carries. Memory, love, story." His voice strengthened. "So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me honor my father, my mother, my daughter, my Professor Mitchell, who believed in me when I was 18. Thank you for reminding me who I am." He lowered the microphone. The audience erupted again, but this time it was different. This was not just appreciation. This was love. People were streaming toward the stage. The security team had to form a barrier to prevent the crowd from overwhelming Isaiah. Mrs. Whitmore appeared at the stage door, her security detail clearing a path for her. She walked directly up to Isaiah. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then she extended her hand. "I was wrong," she said simply. "I judged you. I dismissed you. I saw your uniform and made assumptions about who you are and what you're capable of. I am deeply, profoundly sorry." Isaiah shook her hand. "You were protecting something you value." "I understand." "No," Mrs. Whitmore said firmly. "There's no excuse for how I behaved. And I want to make it right." She pulled a checkbook from her clutch purse. The Harmony Foundation gives scholarships to young musicians from underprivileged backgrounds. Tonight I'm donating $1 million in your name, so that other young people like you don't have to choose between their art and their family. So that talent gets the support it deserves regardless of where it comes from. Isaiah stared at her. "Ma'am, it's not enough," Mrs. Whitmore interrupted. "Nothing could be enough to compensate for what I said to you earlier, but it's a start. And Isaiah..." She met his eyes. "I hope you'll forgive a foolish old woman who forgot that the most extraordinary things often come in the most unexpected packages." Before Isaiah could respond, Senator Bradford was there, shaking his hand vigorously. "That was magnificent," the senator said. "Truly magnificent. I chair the Senate Subcommittee on Arts and Culture. I want you to come testify. We need to hear your story. We need to understand what we're losing when we underfund arts education." Charles Reynolds, the CEO, pushed forward. "I run a foundation that supports cultural institutions. We need to talk. I want to endow a position for you. Artist in residence. Whatever you need." The crowd pressed closer. A dozen people with business cards offers invitations. The Washington Post critic was trying to interview him. A representative from the National Symphony Orchestra was offering a contract. Catherine Fairbanks rescued him gently but firmly, clearing space. "Gentlemen, ladies, please. Isaiah has just given everything he has. Let him breathe." She guided Isaiah off the stage, through the wings, into the quiet hallway beyond. Travis and Frank followed, creating a protective barrier against the crowd, still trying to reach him. In the quiet of the hallway, Isaiah sagged against the wall. He was shaking, exhausted, overwhelmed. "I can't believe that just happened," he whispered. "Believe it," Catherine said. "Isaiah, that was the most extraordinary performance I've seen in 20 years at the Kennedy Center, and I've seen them all." "What do I do now?" Isaiah asked. "I'm supposed to finish my shift. I'm supposed to..." "You're done for tonight," Catherine said firmly. "Go home, rest, process this, and then tomorrow come to my office. Because Isaiah, your life just changed. Completely. And we need to figure out what comes next." Travis was grinning. "Dude, you're going to be famous. That performance is already going viral. Someone was live streaming it. You've got 10,000 shares already." Frank Moretti clasped Isaiah's shoulder. "I'm so proud of you, son. Your father would be so proud." Isaiah closed his eyes. "I need to call Amara." "You need to do more than call her," Frank said. "She's in the lobby." She saw the whole thing. Isaiah's eyes flew open. What Travis called her Frank explained. She drove here as fast as she could. She was standing at the back of the hall for the entire performance. Isaiah ran. He ran through the hallways, his father's cello still in his hand. His security uniform rumpled his face, wet with tears and sweat. He ran through the backstage area, past the stunned staff members, past the orchestra members still packing up their instruments, past the photographers trying to capture the moment. He burst into the lobby. And there she was. Amara Washington, 22 years old, wearing jeans and a Howard University sweatshirt because she had run out of her apartment the moment she got Travis's call. Her face was streaked with tears. Her hands were pressed to her mouth. "Dad," she sobbed. He dropped the cello case carefully, always carefully, and caught her as she ran into his arms. "You did it," she cried into his shoulder. "Oh my God, Dad, you did it. You were incredible. You were perfect. You were everything I knew you could be." Isaiah held his daughter and wept. All the years of sacrifice, all the silent suffering, all the dreams deferred, it all mattered, because it had brought him here, to this moment, to his daughter in his arms telling him she was proud. "I was so scared," he admitted. "I know," she said. "But you did it anyway. That's what courage is." Behind them, people were spilling out of the concert hall, still buzzing with excitement, still wiping tears from their eyes. They saw Isaiah and Amara, and kept their distance, instinctively understanding that this moment was sacred. But they applauded. Softly, respectfully, they applauded. And Isaiah Washington's security guard, former Juilliard student father, son musician, stood in the Kennedy Center lobby holding his daughter, while strangers who had been transformed by his music honored him with their presence and their grace. The next morning, Isaiah woke in his small apartment to the sound of his phone ringing continuously. He had silenced it during the night, but the notifications had been constant. Texts, calls, emails. His phone's battery had died twice. He plugged it in and waited for it to power up. Then he checked the messages. 347 texts, 112 missed calls, 493 emails. With trembling hands, he opened his browser. The Washington Post homepage featured a photograph of him on stage, his security uniform clearly visible, his face transformed in concentration and emotion. The headline read, "Security Guard's Performance at Kennedy Center Leaves Audience in Tears, Raises Questions About Hidden Talent and Lost Dreams." The article was beautiful, thoughtful, raising questions about art and access, about who gets opportunities and who doesn't, about the talent that exists in invisible people, doing invisible work all around us. It had been shared 40,000 times. He checked social media. The performance was everywhere. Someone had live-streamed the entire thing, and the video had been viewed 8 million times. The comments were overwhelming. "I'm crying at my desk at work. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. This man gave up everything to take care of his mother, and he still plays like an angel. I'm destroyed. Why don't we fund arts education? How many Isaiah Washingtons are out there working security cleaning houses, driving trucks with extraordinary talent that the world will never hear?" I was there. I was in the audience. I will never forget this night as long as I live. His phone rang. "Amara. Dad, have you seen? I'm looking at it now," Isaiah said. "It's everywhere. Every news site, every social media platform. Dad, you're famous." "I don't want to be famous," Isaiah said quietly. "I just wanted to play." "I know. But Dad, this is bigger than you now. This is about something important. People are having conversations about arts education, about funding, about the sacrifices people make. The Harmony Foundation got $2 million in donations overnight. The Kennedy Center's youth program has a waiting list now. You started something." Isaiah sat down heavily on his couch. His father's cello stood in the corner, where he had carefully placed it last night, too exhausted and overwhelmed to even put it back in its case. "Catherine Fairbanks wants to see you today," Amara continued. "So does the director of the National Symphony Orchestra. So does a reporter from NPR. Dad, you have decisions to make." "I know," Isaiah said. But before he could make any decisions, he needed to do something else first. He needed to visit his mother. 2 hours later, Isaiah sat in the small house where he had grown up, where his mother still lived, with the help of a home care aide. Rose Washington was 73 now confined to a wheelchair, but her mind was sharp and her spirit unbroken. She watched the video of Isaiah's performance on her tablet, tears streaming down her face. "My boy," she whispered. "My beautiful boy." "I'm sorry, Mama," Isaiah said. "I'm sorry I gave it up." Rose looked at him sharply. "You listen to me, Isaiah Marcus Washington. You didn't give it up. You chose love. You chose family. You chose me. And I will never, not for one single second, regret that choice or let you regret it either. But you sacrificed so much for me to go to Juilliard, and you sacrificed so much for me to live," Rose interrupted. "That's what family does. We take care of each other. And baby, you took care of me. You gave me dignity and love and a reason to keep fighting. You gave the world Amara, who is bringing music to children who need it just like you needed it. You didn't waste your talent. You invested it. In people. In love." She reached out and took his hand. But now she said firmly, "Now you get to have both. You get to keep being the man who loves his family, and you get to be the artist you were always meant to be. Both things can be true." Isaiah kissed her hand. "I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Now go. Go back to that concert hall and claim your life." At 2:00 that afternoon, Isaiah walked into Catherine Fairbank's office at the Kennedy Center. He was wearing his security uniform. He hadn't bought civilian clothes that fit for a formal meeting yet. Everything had happened too fast. Catherine stood and came around her desk, but instead of shaking his hand, she hugged him. "Isaiah, I owe you an apology. A real one, not the rushed one I gave you last night. You already apologized, not enough. I judged you. I dismissed you. I was cruel, and I was wrong. Not just wrong about your talent, though I was spectacularly wrong about that. Wrong about who deserves respect. Wrong about who deserves to be heard." She gestured for him to sit. "I've been executive director here for 8 years, Catherine continued. I thought I understood what the Kennedy Center was for. I thought it was about excellence, about maintaining standards, about presenting the world's finest artists to discerning audiences." She paused. "You showed me I was wrong, or rather that I was incomplete. Yes, the Kennedy Center is about excellence, but it's also about access, about possibility, about believing that art belongs to everyone and can come from anyone. You reminded me of that. I just wanted to play," Isaiah said. "I know. And that purity, that simple desire to make music is what made last night so powerful. You weren't performing for ego or fame. You were simply being who you are." Catherine opened a folder on her desk. "I've had 43 calls today. Orchestras, presenters, venues, all wanting to book you. The National Symphony Orchestra is offering you a permanent position. The Baltimore Symphony wants to commission a performance. Carnegie Hall is interested in a recital." Isaiah felt dizzy. "I don't know what to do with all that." "You don't have to know right now," Catherine said gently. "But Isaiah, I have a proposal for you, not as someone who wants to exploit your story or your sudden fame, as someone who believes in what you represent." She slid a paper across the desk. "I want to create a new position at the Kennedy Center. Artist in residence and community liaison. You would perform regularly, yes, but you would also work with our education programs. You would mentor young musicians from backgrounds like yours. You would help us reach communities we've failed to reach. You would be the bridge between the Kennedy Center and the people of DC who feel like this place isn't for them." Isaiah stared at the paper. The salary listed was 5 times what he made as a security guard. "I don't have a degree," he said. "I'm not qualified." "You're the most qualified person in the world for this job," Catherine interrupted. "Because you've lived both lives. You know what it means to struggle. You know what talent looks like in unexpected places. You know how to talk to people like you used to be, because you remember being them." Isaiah thought of the young musicians at Amara's school. He thought of all the kids in DC who loved music, but couldn't afford lessons who had talent, but no access who needed someone to believe in them. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Of course. But Isaiah, I hope you say yes. Not because I need you, though I do. Because those kids need you. And because I think you need this, too." Over the next week, Isaiah's life transformed in ways he couldn't have imagined. The video of his performance reached 20 million views. News outlets around the world picked up the story. He was interviewed by NPR, by CBS Sunday Morning, by news programs in the UK and Japan and Australia. Everyone wanted to know about the security guard who had stunned the Kennedy Center. But more importantly, the story sparked conversations. On social media, teachers shared stories of talented students who couldn't afford instruments or lessons. Working-class parents talked about the impossible choices between survival and dreams. Musicians who had given up their art to take day jobs came forward to share their stories. And the funding started flowing. The Harmony Foundation received $5 million in new donations. School music programs that had been cut began to be restored. Instrument donation drives started in cities across America. Mrs. Whitmore's $1 million donation in Isaiah's name funded 20 full scholarships for the next year. Isaiah accepted Catherine's offer. He gave his notice as a security guard, though the Kennedy Center threw him a farewell party where his former colleagues toasted him with champagne and pride. He gave his first performance as artist in residence 3 weeks after the viral night. The concert sold out in 4 minutes. The audience included his mother in a wheelchair in the front row, Amara beside her, and Frank Moretti in a suit instead of his janitor's uniform. But the most meaningful moment came a month later when Isaiah started teaching. The Kennedy Center created a new program, Hidden Voices. It provided free music instruction to students from underserved communities in DC. 30 kids ages 8 to 18, all talented, all eager, all from backgrounds where music lessons were an impossible luxury. On the first day, Isaiah stood in front of them holding his father's cello. "How many of you have been told you can't do something because of where you come from?" he asked. Every hand went up. "How many of you have been told your dreams are impractical, that you need to be realistic, that people like you don't become musicians?" The hands stayed up. "Good," Isaiah said. "Because now you know what it feels like to be underestimated. And you can use that. Every time someone doubts you, you can remember that I was 47 years old working security wearing a uniform that made people think they knew exactly who I was and what I was capable of. And I proved them wrong." He positioned his cello. "You all have that power too. The power to surprise. The power to be more than what people assume. The power to change minds and hearts with your talent." He played for them. Not the Dvorak concerto, something simpler. A hymn his mother used to sing. A jazz tune his father used to play. Music that spoke of home and hope. When he finished, a 9-year-old girl raised her hand. "Mr. Washington, do you think I could ever play like that?" Isaiah smiled. "What's your name?" "Destiny. Destiny, if you work hard, if you love music, if you let it teach you not just about notes, but about life, then yes, you could play better than me. That's what I'm here to help you learn." 6 months after that night at the Kennedy Center, Isaiah Washington performed with the National Symphony Orchestra at their annual gala. The piece was the same one he had played that transformative evening, Dvorak's Cello Concerto in B minor. But this time, he wore formal concert attire. This time, the audience knew who he was before he walked on stage. This time, the entire performance was being recorded for a documentary about his life. And this time, 30 of his students from the Hidden Voices program sat in the front row, watching their teacher bring the audience to tears once again. After the performance, during the standing ovation that went on for 15 minutes, Isaiah gestured for his students to stand. They did, and the audience applauded them too, recognizing what they represented. The future, the possibility. The next generation of musicians who would come from everywhere, from every neighborhood and background, bringing their stories and their voices to the world. The documentary, when it was released 3 months later, was titled The Security Guard's Symphony. It wasn't just about Isaiah's story. It was about all the Isaiah Washingtons out there, the brilliant people in invisible jobs, the talents that go unseen, the dreams that wait in silence for their moment. It won an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. Isaiah attended the ceremony with Amara as his date, and when the film won, he stood on stage and said simply, "This is for everyone who has ever been told they can't. You can. You absolutely can." The Kennedy Center's Hidden Voices program expanded to 8 cities. Mrs. Whitmore endowed it with $10 million. Other philanthropists followed her lead. Within 2 years, there were Hidden Voices programs in 30 cities, teaching 2,000 students. 3 of Isaiah's first 30 students went on to study at Juilliard. 2 joined professional orchestras. 1 became a composer. 1 became a teacher, continuing the cycle. Frank Moretti retired, and Isaiah spoke at his retirement party. "This man believed in me when I didn't believe in myself," Isaiah said. "He reminded me that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. Thank you, Frank, for seeing me." Travis Chen became the Kennedy Center's Director of Community Engagement, working with Isaiah to build bridges between the institution and the communities around it. Attendance at Kennedy Center events from DC residents increased by 300%. Dr. Patricia Chen, the concertmaster who had conducted that night, became a close friend and collaborator. They performed together regularly, and she told everyone who would listen, "Isaiah Washington is the finest cellist I have ever worked with. Not because of his technique, though, that's exceptional. Because of his heart." And Isaiah's mother, Rose Washington, lived to see her son achieve the dream she had invested everything in so many years ago. She attended every performance, sitting in her wheelchair in the front row, crying tears of joy every single time. When she passed away peacefully in her sleep at age 76, Isaiah played at her funeral. He played the hymn she loved, the one she used to sing to him when he was a child. And every single person in that church wept, not just for Rose, but for all the mothers who sacrifice everything so their children can have more. Today, if you visit the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., you'll see a bronze plaque in the lobby. It reads, "In honor of Isaiah Washington, whose performance on November 15th reminded us that excellence has no uniform, no pedigree, no predictable appearance. Art belongs to everyone. Genius can come from anywhere. Listen, really listen. You never know what voice might change your life." Isaiah Washington is now 52 years old. He still teaches. He still performs. He still works with the Hidden Voices program, personally auditioning every student, looking for that spark, that hunger, that talent that deserves to be heard. And he still owns his father's battered cello, the one he played that night. He's been offered hundreds of thousands of dollars for it by collectors who want to own a piece of the story. He always refuses. This cello isn't famous, he tells them. It's not valuable. It's just a working man's instrument that carried a working man's dreams. And it reminds me every day that you don't need the fanciest tools or the most prestigious background to make something beautiful. You just need heart. You just need courage. You just need to be willing to try. On the wall of his teaching studio at the Kennedy Center hangs a photograph from that first night. Isaiah, in his security uniform, standing on stage, his father's cello in his hands, tears on his face. 2,000 people on their feet applauding. Under the photograph, Amara has framed something her father said to her the morning after that transformative performance. For 25 years, I thought my dream had died. But dreams don't die. They just wait. They wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right courage to bring them back to life. And when that moment comes, when you finally get your chance, you play. You play with everything you have. You play for everyone who never got their chance. You play for the person you were, and the person you're becoming, and the person you were always meant to be. Isaiah Washington played. And in playing, he didn't just change his own life. He changed the way thousands of people think about talent, about opportunity, about who deserves to be heard. He proved that it's never too late. That dreams deferred are not dreams denied. That the most extraordinary performances sometimes come from the most unexpected places. And he reminded us all that beneath every uniform, every job title, every assumption we make about who people are and what they're capable of, there might be someone extraordinary just waiting for their moment to shine. If Isaiah Washington's story moved you, if it made you think differently about the people around you, about the invisible workers whose talents you might never see, then I invite you to do something. Look around, listen, pay attention to the people you normally don't notice. The security guard, the janitor, the server, the person at the checkout counter. What dreams might they be carrying? What talents might be waiting in silence? And if you have resources, if you can help, consider supporting arts education programs in your community. Consider donating instruments. Consider funding scholarships. Consider being the person who gives someone their chance. Because somewhere right now, there's a young person with extraordinary talent and no access. There's a middle-aged person who gave up their dream and thinks it's too late. There's someone like Isaiah Washington waiting for their moment. You could be the person who helps make that moment possible. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late, that dreams matter, that talent deserves to be recognized no matter where it comes from. And remember, beneath the uniform, beyond the job title, behind the assumptions, there are people with stories that could change your life. If only you listen. Thank you for listening to Isaiah Washington's story. May it inspire you to see people differently, to listen more carefully, and to believe that extraordinary things can happen when we give unexpected people a chance.